The big story we're tracking reports say that 2 suspects of the Charlie Hebdo attack have been located. We're being told that this is the image of one of the attackers, Sheriff. A video from 2005 appears to show Sheriff, one of the 2 brothers, being hunted by police in France for the death of 12 people in the Charlie Hebdo office. French newspaper Le Figaro has republished a video online which it claims shows 32-year-old Sheriff being hunted along with his brother Saeed for the attack on the satirical weekly. Alright, so the big story we're tracking is that a new video has been identified which allegedly shows one of the 2 people who attacked the Charlie Hebdo office yesterday, killing 12 people. The video on your screen is of we're getting in a statement from French President François Hollande. Let's cross live.
Deadly attack, yesterday's deadly attack on a satirical newspaper, this in the French capital. Now, the images that we see here are of French President François Hollande. He is at the police headquarters here in Paris, this in the center of the city. He was accompanied by the Interior Minister, Bernard Cazeneuve, who we can see there behind him, as well as Paris's Mayor, Anne Hidalgo. And a moment of silence also being observed at the Prime Minister's residence, this in Matignon, as well as at the Notre Dame Cathedral, which is actually just a minute's walk away from the police headquarters. We also have a minute of silence, of course, being observed at Charlie Hebdo, where the shooting took place yesterday, roughly before noon, yesterday on Wednesday. And now we do have, of course, France in its entirety has been rattled from these recent events, and that has continued this morning as we have another shooting that has taken place. Now, details, of course, at this moment are coming in. It's a shooting that took place in the southern suburb of Montrouge, just outside Paris. Now, one police officer has been shot. However, there has been no confirmation at this point as to whether or not there is any link to yesterday's shooting. All we know, though, is that a man with a bulletproof vest did indeed open fire on officers, this in southern Paris, at roughly 8 a.m. Local time here. France 24's Stephen Carroll is standing by with the latest. We can cross to him now. Now, Stephen, tell us really, what do we know at this point?
What we know is that this incident, as you said, happened at around 8 o'clock this morning, when it started, in fact, as a traffic accident, and the policewoman who approached the car that had been involved in this accident, the man who was driving it got out of the car and shot her, and this is the woman that we have since learned has died from her injuries. Now, there was a second municipal worker injured in that attack as well. His injuries are said to be serious, but not, it's thought at this stage to be life-threatening. Now, in the past few minutes, we've seen police end what was a second operation here in Montrouge, just south of the Paris Ring Road. They had returned, we're told, to search an apartment in the street just beside where this shooting incident happened, and that operation, police now, they had returned to the scene after leaving the first time with sniffer dogs and armed guards, and they are now leaving again to continue this investigation. The investigation now focusing on the man who carried out this shooting incident. He's said to have fled the scene in his car, but abandoned that car in a nearby neighbourhood. He then has switched to another car and travelled, we're told, in the direction of Paris. Now, Bernard Cazeneuve of the Interior Ministry was here on the scene earlier, and he told us the focus is now on finding that man. He's described as being 1 metre 75 in height with a shaved head. He's wearing a bulletproof vest, and he has 2 weapons, a handgun and a larger assault rifle.
Stephen, can you tell us, of course, then we have essentially another manhunt going on here. What security measures have been taking place, set up here in the French capital?
Well, as you know, yesterday after the attack on the Charlie Hebdo offices, the terror alert level was raised to its maximum here in France, and particularly in the Parisian region. That means that there were extra police and soldiers drafted in to protect what are thought to be key locations. Those include train stations, public buildings, schools, all having extra protection. Of course, media organisations also getting additional protection as a result of that attack on Charlie Hebdo. Now, it's important to say that at this time there is no connection or no apparent connection between this shooting in Montrouge and the attack on the Charlie Hebdo offices. Bernard Cazeneuve, the Interior Minister, asked us to be careful in our reporting that we didn't make that link, as there was no evidence to point to that at this point. Now, of course, a second major incident like this in the Paris region means that already high security measures are being reinforced further, and we can expect that there will be increased police presence in the French capital until these incidents are resolved.
Now, Stephen, then of course at this point we must be prudent in terms of speculating any links. That being said, people there on the scene that you've spoken to, how are they feeling considering this is the second shooting incident in less than 24 hours?
Well, of course, and that is the thing on the question on most people's lips is, could it have been connected? And that is certainly what people that we've been speaking to here have been saying. Now, there were very few witnesses on this scene. There were said to be only 7 people around when it happened. As you can understand, they haven't been out speaking to journalists. Those that did hear heard noise in the street but didn't see anything afterwards. So there's we don't have the same sort of eyewitness accounts we would have had about the incident yesterday. But certainly people here are worried about this. Is a quiet residential suburb of. We're only about 500 metres from the Parisian ring road. It's a quiet neighbourhood which is mostly residential, and certainly people here are worried that this sort of incident could happen in their neighbourhood.
Stephen Kell reporting there from southern Paris. We'll of course be checking back in with you throughout the day as developments come in. Well, the attack on Charlie Hebdo has raised concerns about reprisal, violence.
Finally, we must remain what we are. We must be aware of the fact that our best weapon is our unity, the union of all our citizens in the face of this challenge. Nothing can divide us, must divide us in the face of this challenge. Tomorrow I will be holding a meeting with the speakers of the 2 houses of Parliament and the representatives of all the political parties to show our common determination. France is a great country when it is capable of reaching the highest possible level, the highest level of excellence, which has always enabled France to overcome the tests of history. Freedom will always overcome barbarity. France has always overcome its enemies when it has rallied around its values. I invite you to rally around our values in every way. That it should be our response.
Catherine, we're a couple of hundred of metres from where this incident happened. The information that we have so far from police is that this began as a traffic accident, and it was when a policeman came to that accident that a shot was fired. A municipal police officer, so a local police officer here, was injured. He's said to be now in a critical condition. We've seen the ambulance, which we believe to be carrying him, leave the scene here about in the past 15 minutes or so. A second person was also lightly injured, a city worker, we're told, who was also on this street, which is just south of Paris. There were 7 other people, we're told, nearby. Police have found 2 bullet casings at the scene. It's believed that those casings came from an automatic assault rifle. An MP5 is the model that we're being told. As you can imagine, there's an enormous police and emergency services presence here in the suburb of Montrouge, south of Paris. We're expecting the Interior Minister to arrive here at any moment.
Do you know how many shooters may have been involved in this incident, Stephen?
It's not at this point clear. We know that there was definitely one has been arrested, we're told, by police. Whether there's any more than that is yet to become clear at this point. So we know that one person has been arrested, but there is still a massive police operation, and as you can imagine behind me, the scene is still closed off.
And security is being taken very seriously all across Paris at the moment. So do you know if any particular precautions were in place in this area? It seems to be rather an ordinary residential suburb.
Yes, it is. And as we know from yesterday, we had the French government raise the terror alert to maximum here. That is to say that they believe there was a threat of an imminent attack in the wake of the attack on the Charlie Hebdo offices. Of course, we don't know that there's any link between this shooting and that. Nobody's making that connection for now. So there was a reinforced police presence in many places around Paris and the whole of the Parisian region. Key locations would have been train stations, public buildings, things like that. There would have been none of these on this particular street, but this is, as you say, very close to Paris. We're just a couple of hundred metres from the Paris ring road, so this is, as you say, a very residential area. There are, as you imagine at this time of the morning, an enormous amount of people going to and from work here in Montrouge, but still the security presence remains quite high.
There are two French brothers, they're Said and Sheriff Kouachi, aged 32 and 34. They were known to French police and intelligence services as members of a network called the Butte Chaumont network in the late 2000s. The Butte Chaumont is a park in northeastern Paris. It's in the 19th district, so it's one of those arrondissements, as they call it, which Paris is divided into. They were active in the northeast of the city, and this network sent jihadists to fight in Iraq against the US-led occupation, and that was happening really pretty much at the height of Al-Qaeda in Iraq's power then, before the troop surge and the Anbar awakening, which really dented Al-Qaeda a lot in Iraq. So they were essentially channeling jihadists from France to Iraq. One of the brothers was convicted over this network, this jihadist network, and he has then he was then let out of prison. He's obviously been known and watched by the French intelligence, but not with round the clock guards or anything like that, because that's not the general way things are done in this country. You don't have surveillance, round-the-clock surveillance of people who are known to have radical views on Islam until they actually become killers. By then it's too late. There's not much anyone can really do. So he was convicted. He was later released. Obviously, he continued to hold these radical views. We don't know whether there was any sort of more recent link between one of these brothers and any particular jihadist group in Syria, for example. We don't know that, but we do know that he was very much fired up at the time in the late 2000s by the idea of Western oppression of Muslims, of the prisoner abuses at Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo, and those were both things that Kouachi had mentioned at the time and during his trial. Actually, he mentioned Abu Ghraib, for example.
It's about being able to say anything we want to say, whether that's at a political level or at a gender level. We want to be able to say it. After, you can buy it, not buy it, you can share it or not share it, but in France we have the right to say it.
If we can't express our ideas anymore, then where are we going? It's fascism, in fact. This isn't the beginning of the end, at least I hope not. I still try to be optimistic. But never again, against a newspaper, never again.